Hello and welcome to the third episode of Stay Nerdy, my friends. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about something that gives superheroes their superpowers and inspired the family that won more Nobel Prizes than any other family. Yes, I'm talking, of course, about radiation. You asked for it. Today's episode is going to come to you in three parts. Number one, the history of how radiation came to be. Number two, what is radiation? And number three, what are the dangers? Radiation was technically discovered by a guy named Antoine Henry Becquerel, and what he was trying to do was show that the sun passed energy onto objects on the surface of the Earth. Now, how he was going to do this was he was going to place uranium into the sunlight and then place it onto a photoplate. And if he was correct, the photoplate would show an image of the uranium. Now, of course it did, but for reasons other than what he thought. So to replicate his own results, later that day he was going to place the uranium in a new photoplate outside of the sun, but he couldn't because it was cloudy out. So instead, he placed the uranium in a photoplate inside of his desk drawer for safekeeping. Well, later, he came into that desk drawer and he noticed that the photoplate had an image of the uranium on it. Now, that means that the uranium had to be holding energy inside of itself, thus coming up with the idea of radiation and proving it in one fell swoop. That's awesome, right? No. Becquerel thought that the uranium was spontaneously creating and getting rid of energy in one spontaneous moment. Oops. Well, now, two physicists, Marie and Pierre Curie, were fascinated by Becquerel's work, and they began their own research to back up his findings. Well, of course they found that he was wrong. The uranium wasn't spontaneously creating energy. But the energy had to be coming from somewhere. So they discovered that the energy had to be coming from within the atoms of the element itself. Now, this was groundbreaking because up until this point, nobody thought that there was anything smaller than an atom. Well, their research showed that there might be something, and that led to whole other fields of study into particle physics. Well, now, because of their research, Becquerel, Marie, and Pierre Curie won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1903. And also, Marie Curie went on to find two new elements, polonium, which she named after her homeland of Poland, and radium, which is what her and her husband used in their research. Well, because of these finds, she was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1911. And also, Marie and Pierre's daughter, along with her husband, went on to win a Nobel Prize several years later, making the Curies the family that holds the most Nobel Prizes ever. Now we have to get into what is radiation. Radiation, simply put, is energy caused by electromagnetic waves or subatomic particles. Now I know what you're thinking. Electromagnetic waves? Sean, didn't you already talk about those? As a matter of fact, I did. If you go back to episode 2 and watch my episode about why humans are basically blind, I did talk about the electromagnetic spectrum. For those of you who haven't seen that episode, this is what it looks like. Now, everything that you see on there is technically radioactive. It releases energy through its waves. So, radiation causes the light that we can see. It causes the energy from the sun. It causes our planet to be warm. Photosynthesis is plants digesting the radiation from the sun. All of this is radiation, and that's really good for you. Now, like I said, not all types of radiation is good for you. There's such a thing as ionizing radiation, and that means that it can knock an electron off of your atom, which is very bad. That can cause really bad problems on a molecular level, which then come to a full-scale level. Now, the three most common types of ionizing electromagnetic waves are X-rays, ultraviolet rays, and gamma rays. And gamma rays are really dangerous. Out of all the different types of ionizing radiation, they're the worst. They can go through like 25 feet of solid lead it's really bad. It just completely obliterates everything that's in its path. So that's why the Hulk could not have been created by gamma rays. He would have been completely fracked up. Anyway, now, that's not the only type of ionizing radiation. The other type of ionizing radiation is caused by subatomic particles. You have two different types of particles. There are alpha particles, which are 2 neutrons and 2 protons that are smushed together, and that's kind of bad, but it's not as bad as beta particles. Beta particles are 2 electrons that are smushed together, and they're just flying around causing all kinds of chaos. But once again, it's not the worst kind. Gamma rays are worse than all of the other types of radiation. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is what's known as the walking ghost, or Chernobyl effect. Now, what happens is when you have severe radiation, a short time into it, there will be a week of a grace period, and this is a problem, because a lot of people who haven't gotten attention by this point will think that they're starting to feel better on their own. The problem is, then they won't get any sort of medical attention, so then after the walking ghost effect, you're done. There's nothing they can do for you. Because after the walking ghost effect, the radiation sickness comes back on double force, and most people don't last more than a couple days. Kinda sucks. Hey guys, sorry that this episode ended on such a depressing note. On the bright side, there's another type of radiation called Hawking radiation. It has to do with quantum mechanics and virtual particles. That's why I didn't really go into it, because it gets kind of complicated, and this episode already got kind of complicated, so I didn't really want to make it more complicated. If you want to learn more about Hawking radiation, talk to me on Facebook or on email at staynerdy@gmail.com, and I'll tell you everything you want to know about it. I love that you guys are engaged with the show. A lot of people have been sending me ideas for episodes. That's what I wanted this show to be about. I didn't want it to just be me talking about science. I wanted it to be me telling you what you wanted to know about science. That is awesome. I love it. Keep doing that. Also, a lot of you have been sending me questions on Facebook, asking me just random questions about science. I love that too. Maybe at some point I'll do an episode where it's like just a quick fire, all the little questions things. Other than that, like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel. It's a good channel, trust me, I know. New episodes are going to be coming out every Tuesday and Friday, as long as my school and my work doesn't get in the way. I'm going to keep this schedule up as long as I possibly can, so just bear with me with that. Other than that, all I can say is, stay nerdy, my friends.